Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm the City Witch. So today I'm going to be doing a book review for you guys, and before I jump into this I just want to take a moment to thank whoever bought me this book. So the book is called Bohemian Magick, and it was a book that was put into my Amazon wishlist that you, the public, can buy to support me, my channel and my ever-growing business. And there are things in there that some people want me to review or have mentioned, oh, I'd love for you to review that, so I've added it in, and then someone bought me this book to do a review. So I got the book in January, so thank you to whoever bought it for me. There was no note or anything, so I don't know who purchased it for me, but thank you very much. So I got this book in January and I read it pretty much in 4 days. I read it really quickly, guys. And we're now in April, and it's took me a long time to figure out how to do this book review, because usually when I do a book review it's very positive. I'm telling you all of the amazing qualities of the book and the reason I think you should add it to your collection, if it's good for a beginner or not. I'm telling you all of this stuff to increase your knowledge, build your witchy library and work upon yourself and your craft. Now, this book was added in, as I say, because someone wanted me to do a review on it and mentioned that it might be a good book to do a YouTube video on. So I popped it in my wish list, someone bought it for me, and here we are. And I've struggled because I don't think this is a very good book. I just really don't. In my personal opinion, there was very little about it that was positive, and the rest of it was pretty negative. Now, before I go into all that though and tell you the positives and the negatives and the reasons behind all that, let me show you the book. So the book is called Bohemian Magick, and this is what it looks like. Now, when I first got asked if I would do a review on this and it was mentioned to me, I added it into my wish list, and admittedly I didn't really look too much into it. And then about a week later I did read a couple of reviews online. People were saying how amazing the book was, how beautiful it was, and that they want more from this author. So I thought it's obviously a good book then, people enjoy it. But there was only about 2 or 3 reviews on Amazon to read, so not too many to go on. And there wasn't really anything online from anyone else who had done a review on this book, or at least what was contained within the book, so it was very difficult to know what was actually going to be in this book and what is considered to be Bohemian Magick. So when this book arrived, I was really interested in sinking my teeth into it and learning something that was very specifically Bohemian, or at least that I can identify as Bohemian Magick. And I was hoping it would give me a new take on some old tricks, and it would show me some really interesting Bohemian magic, something I certainly hadn't come across before. It's not what this book did. So let me talk about the positives, what I did like about this book first of all. So definitely one of the positives is the aesthetic of this book. I mean, the front cover is absolutely stunning, and then throughout this book we get some absolutely fantastic artwork and images. There is a lot in this book that makes it truly beautiful and pleasing to the eye and enjoyable as well, and it's very creative. There's a lot of pictures of the author with her coven and her, sister and brother witches. There's some photos of her husband in here, and there is some stuff about them actually doing magic and rituals as well. So definitely really pretty and pleasing and just really enjoyable, because when you're going through the book, this kind of old worldly kind of images and artwork is beautiful. And I love how she included some artwork of her family. So this is so that is her, the author, and then this is one of her relatives that she learned magic from. So we get a lot of stories in here and a lot of information about her family, her style of Bohemian Magick, where it came from, and the like. So beautiful design, aesthetically pleasing, lovely artwork and imagery, really cleverly thought out and laid out, very enjoyable to read. The author herself writes really beautifully. There was no spelling mistakes or errors from what I saw. There was an awful lot of personal stories and information from the author's childhood in here, which made it a very personal read. The stories were lovely. They were enjoyable, and they connected you to the author in a really emotional way, and I really enjoyed that. The book itself was clever. There was a number of really old ideas in here where she'd kind of tweaked them and gave you new clever ways to work them. So what I mean by that is one of the spells that she gives you is about creating sigils. And we all know the method we create sigils. So you create a statement or you choose a word of power, and then you remove the vowels, and then you use the consonants to make your sigil. And there's a number of different methods from that point on to make the sigil. So she gives you the most common one that we all know and love. So what she did that was different was she tells you to keep the vowels. And then she tells you that when you've created your sigil, you're going to use the vowels to enchant your sigil and bring it to life by turning the vowels into a tune or a song. And you're going to sing that at the sigil in order to breathe on it and bring it to life through vibration of your voice. I thought that was really inspired and really clever and really interesting, because I'm one of those people where I don't remove the vowels when I do my sigils. I don't really see the point in doing that. I think you're limiting yourself, and I prefer to keep them in. But when she said, you know, keep the vowels and use them for something else, I've now started saying to myself, okay, I'm going to take the vowels out and I'm going to do what she suggested and turn them into a song. And that has worked really well for me. I enjoy sigil magic, so that was really inspiring, really creative, and I absolutely loved it, because I don't feel like the vowels are going to waste. I feel like they're being used and utilised in my magic, and it made me feel better about it, because up till now I just don't remove the vowels, so now I'm able to and still use them as a magical tool. So that was very pleasing to me. So I really enjoyed that. Now let's move on to the negatives, because there aren't really a lot of positives, I've got to be honest, guys. So one of the negatives in this book is it's the stories. So even though the stories are inspiring and really enjoyable to read, and she's a really good writer, they're also extremely long-winded, stemming for pages and pages, and they fill most of the book. So this book really isn't about Bohemian Magick. This is really a autobiography, if I'm honest, guys, because 90% of it is absolutely just stories from the author's childhood and her experiences and growing up with relatives who were into Bohemian Magick, and all the little tips and tricks that she learned along the way, and all the little magical ways that she incorporated them into her life, which is great. But you're not here for an autobiography, you're here for a book on Bohemian Magick. As the title suggests, you're looking for Bohemian spells, right? At least I was. So that was a negative for me. The other thing is that there is a spell at the beginning of this book to enchant it. Now, we all get books and grimoires and Book of Shadows, and there's usually something at the beginning that they give you to either enchant your own Book of Shadows or grimoire, or to enchant the book you're reading. And usually it's some kind of incantation that is used in some kind of ritual or ceremonial setting to connect you with the book and the information and make it yours, kind of binding it to you, and also invoking a protection upon it to keep it from prying eyes. That's quite common. However, the version that she gives you in this, I just really didn't like. The reason for that is because she has you cut some of your hair off your head and sellotape it to the book. She also wants you to put on thick red lipstick and kiss the book. I mean, guys out there, I don't think you're going to do that. You might, but I don't think you're going to do that. And then she wants you to use the candle in this ritual to drip wax onto the page. Now, there's a few things there. Firstly, you're putting your DNA on the book. So anyone who has a copy of this book or knows about this book and sees you have a copy, they can yoink it off your shelf, steal it, and they've got your DNA. We all know DNA is used as a tag lock in magic, so I think it's very dangerous to just leave your DNA lying around in your witchy library like that for anyone to get hold of. I personally, you know, I see that's dangerous and irresponsible. It's something I personally would not do in my craft. I don't leave my DNA lying around. I don't leave it lying around in restaurants either. I tend to wipe the glass. I take away my napkins with me. And the reason is because after reading a book on hexing and cursing, there was a whole chapter in that about tag locks and collecting tag locks, and it made me extremely paranoid. So now I'm really careful. So this to me was like a no, just no, I'm never going to do that. The other thing was, by kissing it and putting your hair in the book, you're putting your physical DNA in the book. That later will become a biohazard, which means you're not going to just borrow this book to anybody with your DNA, your spit on it, are you? And then by dripping wax on it, you're damaging it. So you cannot resell this book. You can't just, you know, you'd be giving it away and people might not even take it because your DNA is on it. If they try to peel off the sellotape, they could run the risk of ripping the page, damaging the book further. So there was a number of things about that particular ritual that I just hated, and I've not read anything in other books that suggests that you do that or that you need to put your DNA in order to enchant and activate the book. So that was a big negative and a no-no for me, and I don't advise doing it. If anybody wants to do that the way that she is suggesting, I personally suggest that you read the book from cover to cover first before doing that, to decide if you're going to keep the book, because if you're not going to keep it, you can give it away, you can sell it, because you haven't damaged it in the way that she suggests by doing that particular ritual. But if you do want to keep it and you do want to try that, that's fine. But personally, I would never leave my DNA lying around in a book like that for someone to just grab. I just wouldn't. So that was a negative for me. The other thing is, there's a story in this book, and quite a long story, about a really horrible fire that happened in the author's life. I think she was around 18, maybe early 20s, and she mentions that she'd become the unofficial caretaker of her family's history and all of their magical information. So all their spells, rituals, all their grimoires, it all fallen to her, and she had this entire collection in her house. And then sadly there was a fire and her house was reduced to cinders and ash. Now, I'm not taking away from the fact the story was sad, something really traumatic happened to her, and she lost her entire life, you know, in one fire. Everything was destroyed. She lost her entire family history, and because she was the caretaker of it, all of that knowledge was destroyed. Now, that was very sad, yes, but it does tell me that there's no proof of any of what she's saying in this book. Everything that she's putting into any book going forward is not family knowledge on Bohemian Magick. It's now just memories, and she's pulling it from her mind, and it might not be accurate because she's remembering it a certain way, not necessarily how it was. She hasn't got the books to draw upon. She can't give you spells or screenshots or any images of the books and grimoires to back up what she's saying. And I did kind of feel like it was very convenient that this happened, that she can't back up, she's one of the last Bohemians, and that this book contains Bohemian Magick. There's a lot of bold claims in this book that were, to me, quite negative, and if I was somebody else practicing Bohemian Magick, I might get offended by some of what she said, because she's claiming to be one of the last, and she's claiming to have all this knowledge and experience, but she can't back it up. So there's a few red flags there for me. Now, it might not be a red flag for you guys, and I appreciate that, but for me, it's a red flag, and I'm wary of things like this when authors make bold claims and they can't back it up. That, to me, is a red flag. So now let's get down to the actual content of this book. So I've talked about the positives and I've talked about the things that I noted to me that were quite negative and I didn't like about this book. Now I'm going to talk to you about the content. Now, in this book, it contains 231 pages. That's a lot of pages, right? Out of those 231 pages, there is exactly 140 pages of stories. 140 pages of just her stories. That's a lot of pages taken up straight away by just her stories and her childhood and her experiences, not actual witchcraft. I want to make that clear. Those stories don't contain witchcraft. They contain some of the teachings, some things that her family taught her, some things they instilled within her, and that's great, that's lovely, you're connecting to the author, but you really didn't need 140 pages of just stories. Then there is 67 pages of full page artwork with no witchy content or information on them whatsoever, just art, just an image, just something lovely and aesthetic, okay? Then there is 17 pages of spells, and I want to make this clear, guys, that is not 17 spells, that is 17 pages. Some of those spells stem over 2 or 3 pages. There is exactly 7 pages of witchy information, and by information I mean moon phases, candle information, colours, days of the week, general content that you can find in any other book on magic. And again, that information is not specific to Bohemian Magick. It's found in a lot of cultures, a lot of magical practices all over the world. So not specifically Bohemian, just really general witchy information that is handy to have, but stuff you've probably come across before. So in total, so adding together the 17 pages of spells and the 7 pages of witchy content, you have exactly 24 pages of actual witchcraft in this book. Considering the book contains 231 pages, and I know because I counted, there is only 24 pages of witchcraft. That to me is pretty poor, guys, and such a letdown and a disappointment. I was looking for a book on Bohemian Magick. You know, when this was recommended to me, I was like, Bohemian Magick, I don't know a lot about that. This is going to be wonderful. I'm going to learn so much. I learned nothing. There was a couple of small nuggets, like the using the vowels in sigil magic. One other thing in this book that I liked, and that was, instead of working with ancestors, working with spirits, and the spirits she suggests working with were celebrities or heroes that you find particularly inspiring, or there was something about them. that inspired you, and you know, those spirits, you can incorporate them into your altar and your magical practice, calling upon their aid to help you in a certain way in something they accomplished in life. That was very interesting and unique, and not something I'd done before, and definitely something I hadn't read in another book. So those were the only two things that really stood out to me and were new and interesting. The sigil thing as well, she says, is not Bohemian, by the way. She says that's her school of thought and something she came up with for the school of magic that she created, that she does mention in this book, so not specifically Bohemian. The other thing I want to say is that mostly what was contained in this book, out of the 24 pages of actual witchy content, we have references to sigil magic and a way to create sigils. We had some stuff on basic candle magic. She teaches you how to make a crystal crown. She gives you a not magic spell, how to recall your personal power, work with your ancestors, work with dead celebrities and heroes. And she also talks to you a little bit about altars and folksy kind of magic. But a lot of the magic she mentions within her stories are about her new school of magic that she's created with her husband, so not specifically Bohemian. All of the spells and the information I've just mentioned that is contained within this book is not specifically Bohemian either. Not magic is found all over the world, as is sigil magic. Candles are used in witchcraft and all witchy paths all over the world, and not specific to Bohemian magic. So there were things in this book that I kind of went, oh, that could be Bohemian, but I couldn't find a reference to prove it was specifically Bohemian. And what she did provide as witchy content is not specifically Bohemian. It's found all over the place. So while it might be incorporated into Bohemian magic and used by Bohemian practitioners, it's not just Bohemian magic. And what I was looking for, considering this book is titled Bohemian Magic, was new interesting things that is specific only to Bohemian magic and only found in their culture and practices, to teach me something new, exciting and interesting, and give me an opportunity to look at their wonderful, beautiful creative craft. I just didn't get that from this book, and I was very, very disappointed by it. So that's my personal take on this, guys. I'm not bashing the writer at all, not at all, guys. The author was wonderful. The book was beautiful, pleasing, pretty. There was a lot about the book I did like, but there was even more that I didn't. And I've got to look at this from a practical perspective, because I'm giving you the information, right? I'm here for you guys. I'm telling you, this only had 24 pages of witchy content, most of which was just advice on days of the week and moon phases and candle colours, not actual witchcraft, not actual rituals, spells, incantations. Although I did like the incantations she gave in this, some of them were very creative and pretty, but very basic. So that's the last thing I'm going to add. So I would score this book really low. I'm talking like a 2 or a 3, guys. I was very disappointed by it, and I thought there could be more to this book than what it was, and the author really shouldn't have called it Bohemian Magic. It should have been an autobiography of her life, where she includes the odd bit of spells and magic in it. And then I think she should have done a book specifically on this new school of magic that she's formed with her husband, and I've no doubt that's probably the next thing she's going to work on, and I actually probably will read that and enjoy it, because she does come up with some interesting things. There's only 2 interesting things she put in this that were new to me, but if she's going to continue that and do a whole book of that, I would definitely be interested in that, and I would definitely give it a read and hope I would learn something fantastically new. But in this, there was only 2 things I learned that were new. The rest of it was just aesthetic and filler and stories, and definitely a little way to promote her new school of magic. So for that reason, I'm scoring it a 3 out of 10, and I hope that you found this review very honest. It's been a very difficult video for me to record because I want to be honest, but I don't want to slate the author at all, because I thought her writing was wonderful and I really enjoyed this book to you know, some degree. But I have to be honest with you guys. I have to give you my honest opinion, and my honest opinion is this is not a book on witchcraft, it's not a book on Bohemian magic, and I expected more from it and was very disappointed as a result. So if you're looking for an autobiography, if you're looking to read this because you like the author or you really want to learn about her, then this is fantastic for that. Cannot fault it. It'd be 100%. It'd be a 10 out of 10 if that's what you were looking for. But if you're looking for Bohemian magic, looking for spells and witchcraft, this is not it. It falls very short on that scale. Thank you very much for watching. As always, take care of yourselves, guys. If you'd like to offer light and love to this channel, you can do that through my Amazon wishlist or Patreon. Both links are provided. If you'd like to book my magical services for spells, rituals, healing or divination, you can do that through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or via email. All the links are provided. I will also provide a link to this book if anyone is interested in buying it. Even though I didn't rate it when it comes to witchcraft, I do rate it as a great book for learning about the author and her life and her magic. So for that reason, I'm still going to give you a link so you can buy it, and if it's something you're interested in, then wonderful. And I hope you guys do enjoy it and get more from it than I did. So thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you soon. Blessed be.